put this on pause. Good morning, you guys. Good morning. Welcome back to my channel for another scan day. Another fertility update. Today I'm getting another scan. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm Taunya and I'm documenting my journey to baby number 2. The journey to baby number 1 is already documented and stuff from years ago. You can go back and watch that if you want. This morning though, I'm getting an HSG test done and a little bit of backstory. I know if you've been here, y'all might be tired of me doing the backstory, but I always get comments on old videos of people wanting, they don't go back and watch, and I get a bunch of questions. So quick backstory, like HSG history, right? So I got my first HSG done in February 2019. It hurt. I have a whole video on that. It was so painful. Felt like somebody lit a match to my uterus, okay? It hurt. But my tubes were open. Everything was nice and clear. That worked out. A few months later, I ended up conceiving my son. 2022. So this is November 22, April 2022. I got another HSG test done because now we're on our trying to conceive journey for baby number 2. And when I got it done, the doctor who performed it said there was no spillage. Things look like they're blocked, right? And so that was surprising because on my very first one, everything has been clear, and the only thing that had happened to my uterus from in between time was giving birth to my son. And so I didn't know what could be causing, my tubes to be blocked. I didn't know if it was leftover tissue. I did have my son at the very start of COVID-19, right? So my son was born the day the world shut down for COVID. When they stopped all the flights and all that stuff and they started shutting everything down, I was already in the hospital and the doctors had just told me I had preeclampsia. I had to give birth. So in that beginning stage, the healthcare system failed a lot of people, right? Because there was so much that was unknown, and COVID-19 became like the complete focus of everybody, right? It was scaring everybody. Nobody knew what the hell was going on. And so I never got like a 6-week follow-up check. I never got like any type of follow-up care, even with having preeclampsia, going into kidney failure, being like an ICU patient and all that stuff. Once I checked out of the hospital, my OB at the time was okay with letting me leave, like letting me check out at the time, because my blood pressure was still pretty high. They put me on blood pressure medication. That was the only medication that I had taken in between 2020 when I gave birth and 2022, right? That's the only thing that I can think of that I had been taking was like blood pressure medication to get my blood pressure down. That was only for like the first 6 weeks, but they let me out the hospital. This is going a little bit extra, but they let me out the hospital because my son was in a NICU, right? And I was coming back to the hospital every single day and seeing him. And so I pretty much was just going, and they were doing like blood pressure checks or whatever, but that was the extent of it. And he was my first, so I didn't know like what should and shouldn't be going on and stuff like that. But they just did like a follow-up phone call around 6 or 7 weeks or whatever, and like asked me if I was still bleeding and stuff like that. And that was like the gist of it. I didn't get like an actual like check or anything like that. And then for my son's whole first year and a half, I was afraid to go outside and be around anybody, so we just kind of stayed in the house. I was doing like grocery pickup, stuff like that, just to minimize being around people as much as I could. And my husband was like deploying and all that stuff, and so I didn't know if something in that time happened to my body that I missed, that the healthcare system, didn't get to pick up on, because they weren't like seeing you at the hospital. We're a military family, so I was going to a military hospital, so they weren't really like seeing you and all that stuff. They didn't want a lot of people coming into the hospital and stuff. So I don't know. So I don't know what could have made things look like they were blocked back in April when I got my HSG test done then. But when I went to my new OB here in the Memphis area, she said that there was a little bit of spillage, and that she was pretty sure that my fallopian tubes just spasmed. And I didn't know that that was even a thing, okay? Had no idea that that could happen. So she was like, they spasmed, and she didn't want to do another test or whatever. And she just wanted me to take Clomid for 6 months and see what happened. And then she would change her protocol after 6 months of trying if nothing happened. I didn't completely feel comfortable with that, because she also wasn't monitoring my cycles with Clomid. She wasn't checking to see if I was overstimulated. She wasn't checking to see how my follicle sizes were growing and stuff like that. She wasn't checking anything. She was just like, take the Clomid and come back, if in 6 months if things aren't working out. And so it was just kind of like she was doing a 21-day check just to see if I ovulated, and that was it. And so my husband was, like, what is going on? I thought this lady was good. She started out strong, but yeah. So I started going to actual fertility clinic and like beyond the OB office here. And the fertility specialist that I'm seeing, because I'm a new patient, we're taking the month of November to pretty much just get all of my labs, figure out what my body is doing. And because that other doctor never did another HSG test, he was like, look, let me just go ahead and take another look. Let's see what's going on, because it's pointless for me to be taking all these drugs, taking all this medication, stimulating my body if my tubes aren't even open, and it's going to be pointless to be doing timed intercourse and stuff. It's just wasting time, right? So we're trying to get to the bottom of what's going on, kind of trying to see what's, hindering us, or, kind of making this thing longer than it has to be. So today I'm getting another HSG test done, and we're going to see if this time it says that my tubes are blocked or what. But my next appointment is December 7th when I see my RE again, so we can go over all the results. I don't know if the doctor performing the test today will mention anything or say anything, or if it'll be a tech or whatever. So we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't hurt, because when I did get it back in April, it didn't hurt at all. It didn't hurt at all. I didn't even know he had completed the, putting the dye in my uterus and stuff. I didn't feel a thing. I didn't know he did nothing. That's how, like, it was just painless. So this time I'm like, what is what is going to be happening? I did get the saline sonohystogram yesterday, and that was a little bit uncomfortable. I already got a video up on that. You can go back and watch. But everything looked good with my saline sonohystogram. No uterine polyps or anything like that, which is a great thing. Well, from what he saw, he is taking a closer look at the images that were taken yesterday. So I am sitting now waiting. I have about 30 minutes before I have to go in here. I'm super early. I'm about to eat me something. I'm about to finish having my praise and worship and praying over my body. Praying that this is painless today, and praying that these tubes are open and everything gets to flow through, even if I have to take on a little bit of pain. Okay, so yeah, you guys wish me luck. I'm kind of getting a little bit nervous, because I'm like, that thing hurt back in 2019. Even though it didn't hurt back in April, that thing hurt. And I don't know. I don't want it to hurt, but if it has to hurt and my tubes are open, that means my tubes are open, then I'll take it, right? Because I don't want that ticket of IVF right now. I do not want that ticket. So if we can do timed intercourse with assisted fertility, I want to go that route before we have to start doing things a little bit more advanced. So yeah, that's what's happening today. Sorry for the rant. I'll shut up now and I'll bring you guys inside and try to get whatever footage I can get inside, and then just give you guys a follow-up of how everything went afterwards. So pray for me, y'all. All right, you guys, so my appointment is over. It's been over for a while. They actually got me in earlier, like an hour earlier than my actual appointment, because I was there early, and I was like, I'm out in the apartment, I'm out in the parking lot when they called me, and they were like, well, our 9 o'clock cancel, you want to come on in? And I was like, perfect. And Lux had a like Thanksgiving program at school today, and Dion was able to make it, and I got there right when they were like packing up to walk out the door, whatever. And so I was like, I'll just bring him home. It's Friday. They have Thanksgiving break all week next week. I'll just take him home. I don't have to go back out and pick him up from school. My car says that it's 40 degrees outside. So yeah, I just grabbed him and brought him home. And then I realized as soon as we pulled in the driveway, he passed out. And I'm like, well, before I come in this house and get trapped, maybe I should go and get something to eat. But before I leave, I wanted to give you guys an update on today's appointment. So I do have the x-rays and all that stuff on a disc for my actual doctor. And I don't remember how to log into my other computer, my old computer that actually still has a disk drive. So I probably won't be able to get the images off of it, but they wouldn't let me take pictures or record it for you guys. Because I wanted to be able to show you what it looks like when your tubes are inflamed. So my tubes, so overall, right, they did the dye, and the first time it hurt, second time I didn't feel a thing. This time, the first time it was like some mild like cramping with it, where it was like discomfort, but it wasn't unbearable, right? It was just uncomfortable. Okay, so when the doctor did it beforehand, he had let me know. I let him know the history, right? I let him know the first time I did it, 2019, plenty of fluid spilled out on both ends. Both tubes were free and clear of anything. I was like, 2022, I got it done. They were telling me that my tube spasmed or whatever. My new fertility doctor, who he knows, was like, let's just take a look or whatever and see for ourselves what's going on or whatever, so we can come up with the best treatment plan for us. And so he did the dye test, and he let me know, like, if I do notice that things are looking like it's blocked or whatever for some reason, what I can do, if you'll be able to bear it, because some people it's very uncomfortable. Some people do these and they don't feel a thing or whatever. And he was like, how drastic the difference can be or whatever because of your past experience. I was like, yeah. He was like, what I'm willing to do is do the dye again a second time with more force if you're willing to handle it. If you can take it or whatever, if it's not too much for you, and I can push it with more force. And sometimes I'm able to like force the tubes open or whatever, because sometimes it could be like left behind tissue or whatever, and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I've never been given that option or whatever. The more you talk to doctors, see different doctors, everybody gives you different things, give you different ways of doing things or whatever. And so we had a while of talk. We had a good little portion. We spent the majority of the appointment talking. And I also liked him because he was like, at the end of this, we're going to sit and look at your images together, because he's an OBGYN radiologist. And so he was able to give me like his educated opinion on what's happening, what he's seeing, what he thinks could have been going on or whatever. And he was like, sometimes people just have blocked tubes and we don't know why. Sometimes we might be able to pinpoint what could have happened or whatever. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know what could have happened. The only thing I know is I didn't get proper like OBGYN care postpartum. And that's the only thing. I was like, I haven't been treated for anything else. I haven't had anything going on. I haven't had any miscarriages or anything like that since I had my son. And with the military, if you're a military member or spouse, if you're with like going to like military treatment facilities or the military hospitals, they're doing away with doing pap smears yearly. If you've never had an irregular pap smear, if you've never had any irregular pap smear, anything going on that's abnormal with your pap smear, whatever, and you have like, you're married with one partner and all that stuff, they only want to do pap smears every 3 years. I want to say 3 to 5, but if you know, correct me down in the comment section or whatever. It's something like that. So they don't do them every year or whatever. And I've never had any like abnormal pap smears or anything like that. So I mean, I never, the only thing I know that I've had going on is just PCOS, and subclinical hyperthyroidism caused by my prolactinoma, that stuff going on. So that's the only thing, that's my history, right? So he did the dye, and when I looked at the images, I was like, what is that thing? What is this thing? He was like, at first he thought that was just so much fluid just flowing out of my fallopian tube on my right side. But as he kept taking images, I mean, he had me like tilting like my left hip up and right hip down on the table. Then I would have to do it on the other side, and then I would have to lay flat and all that stuff. So I was in there just rocking from side to side while this man was like taking all these images and pushing his dye. Had him do the dye, I feel like he did it about 4 times, y'all. And I'm telling you, it was uncomfortable this time. But I was like, I'm a champ. I can do it while I'm already here. Let me get this done. This pain is temporary. I know I'm not going to feel like this. I'm going to be a little bit uncomfortable with, because of all the stuff happening down there, whatever. But it won't last always. I can take this. I've had a baby, okay? I felt contractions. If I can breathe my way through those, I can breathe my way through this. So he was like, are you sure you're okay or whatever? Because I was having to like breathe my way through them or whatever, because that cramping became something. But my right side is looking worse than my left side, and I have to watch my video from my results from my OBGYN who had the test done back in April. But I feel like she said the right side was better than the left side. It was more spillage on the right side than it was the left side. And looking at this, he did like closer looks, and because he had me moving around in different angles or whatever, he was able to see things differently. Like, he was really looking out. And we saw that there were like some little like these like little pockets that were like surrounding one portion of my fallopian tube, and he was saying where it was, it could have been, so I've been having like painful periods and stuff like that, and I've had like random like cramping and stuff like that, or just random like, ooh, like it felt like I might have did something extra or whatever on my right and my left side actually. And sometimes I've even like felt like my ovaries were enlarged. If you've done like these fertility treatments, you know that sensation when it feels like your ovaries are enlarged, almost like you can feel them when you're in certain positions and stuff. I felt like that or whatever, but I've tried not to like read too much into it. I was just like, man, after, these periods are getting like worse and worse or whatever, like they're becoming more painful and stuff. And he was saying that I could have been having like cysts rupturing and causing like these like inflammations and stuff like that, and it has enlarged, like caused like inflammation and fluid in my tubes, because they called it a hydrosalpinx when your tubes are closed or whatever, and it's like fluid filled. And he was like, the right side, the tube is larger. They want it to be smaller than what it was or whatever. The left side was enlarged, but it wasn't as much as the right side. And he was like, yeah, I don't know what is causing it to be so enlarged. And he was like, sometimes it's some people's body does things and we never know. And I'm just kind of like, what? I don't know what could have happened. And that's the part that's frustrating for me. So there is some spillage. He just isn't sure which tube is coming from, because when he had me moving around, it just kind of filled the area around my uterus and ovaries and stuff like that. So he's not sure which side leaked the fluid, and then it wasn't a lot of fluid. It could be, one of them open and the other one isn't, or something like that. But then my concern is, if they're enlarged and there is some type of inflammation, I would be worried about getting an egg fertilized, but it implanting, and then I end up losing everything. So there's that. He's not my doctor, so he wouldn't like give me like a diagnosis really. He was like, this is just diagnostic. I'm not gonna diagnose anything. You are gonna see your doctor, which I already knew. I was like, yeah, I'll see my doctor, but I appreciated his opinion, so to speak. So I was like, I should just go ahead and do IVF, huh? He was like, I'm not gonna tell you that. Like, he was real cool. He was like, I'm not gonna tell you that or whatever. Just talk to your doctor and see what they say or whatever, or you decide what you want to do. And so it's unfortunate. Something has happened to my body, and I don't know what has caused my tubes to be enlarged like this. He was like, it's definitely not the worst he's seen or whatever, but it's larger than they would like. That's where we are. I don't know if anything could be done. I don't know what is going on. Honestly, my next appointment again is December 7th. Today is the 18th of November. So I have a little bit. So what I'm going to do for sure is enjoy Thanksgiving, enjoy my time with family. We're going to Atlanta for Thanksgiving. All the grandparents will be in Atlanta, and we're going to enjoy our time. I do want to cry. I will say that I just have had a lump in my throat since I left there, and really it came up a lot more when I had to start telling Dion, and y'all know my husband, he's just like, well, we gotta do IVF, we just gotta do IVF. And it, like, he's always so supportive, and he's like, we're gonna do what we have to do. Like, that's the kind of attitude he takes about this whole thing. But for me, it's just kind of like, here we go with another diagnosis, here we go with another thing. And then I'm also kind of starting to regret being afraid after I gave birth to Lux, and like allowing my fear to like put my plans of trying for number 2 so far out or whatever, because like what if I would have tried sooner or whatever, we wouldn't have had these issues or whatever. But again, too, I don't know if something could have happened during my pregnancy, something could have happened during the process of birth. All the time I was sitting in the hospital, there's no telling what exactly could have there's no telling what could have happened or whatever to cause this. But I'm gonna not get down on myself about it, because I'm not gonna let my mind go too far. But I'm gonna give myself a moment though to process and have whatever emotions I need to have. And I definitely need to get a cry out, because it's starting to kind of make my throat hurt a little bit. It's just frustrating. It's just so frustrating. And I know dealing with infertility, things are always going to come up. You know, things are always going to be changing. And for some people, this is not the case. But I just know in my experience and dealing with infertility, it's always something. And this is also why I stress like having a therapist through this process, because it is a lot. It is a lot mentally, it's a lot emotionally, it's a whole lot physically. And yeah, I'm gonna find some way to make myself feel better. But I know right now I want Chick-fil-A, and I want that new autumn drink. Hopefully they still have that. He's back there knocked out. I hope they still have that, because that's what I want, and that's what's going to make me happy right now. I probably don't need it, but I want to make myself feel better. I want to make myself feel better. Yeah, my husband he's so good with all this stuff though, and like supporting me and keeping me encouraged through it. But you know, when it's you getting diagnosed with stuff or whatever, and it's you feeling like you're the problem, you're the reason why things can't just be normal for you guys or whatever, that part, it weighs on you a little bit. I need to stop talking about this, because I feel like I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and that's enough. That is enough. That is enough. So that's what happened on today. Of course, I'm going to continue documenting and continue bringing you guys along for whatever comes up of this whole thing. But yeah, thank you guys as always for supporting me, encouraging me. Thank you guys for praying for me. I know sometimes we have delays or whatever, but it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Our babies are coming. Our babies are coming. Our babies are coming. I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it. I'm gonna stay positive. Our babies are coming. And yeah, you guys, I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully at the next appointment we get some better news or some better options with as far as this journey is concerned. Yeah, or hopefully I'm able to find like a military treatment facility closer to us that does fertility treatments, so if I do have to do IVF, I can get it done cheaper, because I really did not want that ticket. I don't want to pay for it, especially knowing that in the military hospital is much cheaper than it is in the civilian world going to the fertility clinic, which is why I went to Walter Reed the last time. It's much cheaper. Much cheaper. So I don't know, we're gonna have to weigh our options, see how, this whole process is gonna change plans for our family and all this stuff, and just things that we wanted to get done next year and goals that we wanted to meet, what we're willing to change and adjust for this whole thing. So that's what we are. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.